I found my wedding dress this weekend. Hello, I'm Anna. Welcome to another wedding planning vlog. The last one that we did covered just like overall updates, what I've been working on with the program, our coordinator, and what's on our registry. This vlog is a jam-packed weekend, including going dress shopping for my wedding dress, touring a venue for a welcome party, and then also lastly doing a tasting with a caterer, which is very exciting. Since we were running around from place to place, I didn't jump in and like narrate as much as we were doing the activities, which is why current me is here now. But starting with the wedding dress shopping, we went on a Saturday morning. I was dreaming about wedding dress shopping the night before. Like I was a little bit stressed, but maybe not stressed, like apprehensive. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. I had some inspiration heading into the appointment, but I also have heard so many people say like try on everything, don't just rule something out. You might really love like certain things on your body that you wouldn't have expected, or vice versa. You thought you would have loved something and then you try it on and realize it's not for you. And so I kind of just had a broad mindset going in. The place that I went is called Island Vale in Roswell, Georgia. Every dress in the store is $899. So they're designer dresses from different places, and then you get them off the rack in Island Vale for $899. I really wanted to do something like this because I did not want to spend the multiple, $899 is expensive, but I didn't want to spend multiple of thousands on a wedding dress as you would if you were buying from like most designers. But I also wanted to physically try on and not just like get something online that I'd never seen on my body, which is kind of why I opted from this. I heard about it from my cousin's wife. They have like a sister store in North Carolina that she went to where everything's $699, but Atlanta upcharge. Everything's $899 at this store. So let's look at wedding dresses that I tried on but ultimately did not buy. And I will say I did find my wedding dress and I bought a wedding dress at the store. I am keeping it a secret until my wedding. I've sent to like my mom, my bridesmaids, which includes my sisters, and then a select few other people have seen it. I'm not like so lock and key about it, but I am keeping it a secret, and Zach wants it to be a secret until wedding day from him too, which I kept being like, do you just want to see it? Do you just want to see the pictures of me in it? And he's like, no, wait till the wedding day. So we're waiting till the wedding day. So whenever we got there, it's an hour-long appointment. It's like speed dating. The clock was on, the pressure was on. They let you spend about 5 to 7 minutes going through the racks yourself, which there's a lot of, and picking various different styles that you would like to start by trying on. They take your measurements when you come in, and then their sizes are color-coded. So I was like, I think like the red and light blue section is what they suspected would fit me best. This is the very first dress I tried on. It drew me in because I really loved that lace. I still really love that lace. Honestly, from like waist down, this dress was so beautiful and perfect to me. I loved the lace train. I ended up liking the fit and flare, which I didn't necessarily think that I would, but, and you can kind of see me showing it in this picture, the top was not for me. The straps did not fit my shoulders. That could have been fixed in alterations, but I think even if the straps fit my shoulders, I still just would not have loved it. And so that kind of just knocked it off the playing table for me. The straps were very wide, which I do have like broad shoulders, and sometimes wide straps can just make your shoulders look more broad, which I didn't really love. And then it just didn't flatter me overall, I felt like, in the top portion. So I ended up nixing this one. The goal as I was going through these first ones was to get a top 3, is what she kept saying. Just like, we're looking for your top 3, and then we can spend the last 10 minutes of the appointment retrying on those top 3 and making a decision between them. This one was so fun. I saw it on the rack and I was like, I need to at least put that on my body one time. Like one time I need it. It is this huge, ginormous ball gown that took up the entire fitting room. It had beautiful sparkly beading on it, and honestly, this is the front of it. It felt very flattering on me there too. It definitely would have had to be altered to be taken in. Like this is barely hanging onto my body right now, and honestly, like I have no regrets over my dress because like I'll look good no matter what. It's a wedding dress. It's a beautiful wedding dress that I picked, but part of me also is like, I should have just gotten this one, just like to have that, I don't know, like queen getting coronated moment as I walk down the aisle. But ultimately, it is just such a huge dress that I felt like I would just take up so much room on my wedding day and I would not be able to move, and it really would have had to be altered both like height wise and also to actually fit me. It just did not come fitting me well. So I knew it wasn't practical for the wedding itself, but I mean, look how big and beautiful that is. Whenever I was trying it on, I really just had to dive in and like look for ground, just do like a big jump and hope for the best. The beading was beautiful, the shimmer was beautiful. What I learned from this though was that I really did like the shimmer. The shimmer was like something that just was so beautiful to me. And then I also learned, or I confirmed, because I had suspected that having a ball gown on would just wear me instead of me wearing the dress. I'm 5'3", and so it's kind of hard being shorter to wear a ball gown and not just be like entirely swallowed by it. It definitely can be done, but not in this one. This one it could not be done in. It was so beautiful though. This next one, I think it technically was an A-line, but it kind of came across on me as more ball gown. What drew me to it was I really liked the ribbon end of the tulle. It felt very ballet to me, which was so cute. But then you can see in the front, it is the wide straps again. This one at least fit me better, so I could kind of see a little bit more of how it would actually look. And I really liked it, but it felt kind of too simple for me. And after I'd had like the shimmer that I like, and heading in, I really liked lace, and it just didn't have those components, and I wasn't so blown away by it for it to like entirely take over those components that I came in wanting. So I could not see myself leaving in this gown. It also did not make my top 3. But it really was so beautiful, and like look at the train is gorgeous. It would be so beautiful on someone. It just like wasn't to me. Now this one I tried on a more like clean, modern classic. That is literally the biggest oxymoron I've ever said, but that's what it feels like. Like it's a clean classic, but a little bit more modern. I tried this one on. It was another kind of fit and flare. This is the back of it, obviously. It was just plain white. Here you can see the front of it. It had, I forget what it's called, but like the strapless that comes up and then kind of down, and it's like the corners, which I ended up not liking on me. And then just like the fit of the front, I feel like I needed more structure. It was like the way that the dress was shaped to hug you didn't accentuate me to look good. It also would have had to be taken in quite a bit. And it again just felt really plain. Like I felt like if I wanted a train, I wanted it to be like a really pretty, beautiful train, which people absolutely rock the clean classic trains, but just not for me. This one was not to me. As you'll notice, we don't have anything in my top 3 yet. I could not see myself leaving in any of these dresses. This is our next one. Ignore my double chin, that's embarrassing. This was another ball gown, and this one was of the ball gowns was the one that I probably would be most likely to actually have taken home with me if I were doing a ball gown. You can see the beading on it is so pretty. The bodice was like fitted and really gorgeous. I felt like had the flowers, had the shimmer. Ultimately, what turned me off from it, though I did keep it around just in case, it had a slit that was straight in the middle of the dress to where when you walk, it's not just like, oh, my like leg, possibly some of my hip is popping out in the slit. It really was just like, oh, there's like your entire crotch and stomach right there that is. And I know that being altered, like you can close the slit to be lower down, but that just like turned me off from it, honestly. And then also it was such fitted in the bodice, and then the skirt went like straight out in a line. So I did keep it around. I don't think I officially named it in top 3, but I did keep it around just in case, because the top really was just so gorgeous. This one I tried on because she wanted to see if I liked illusion necklines, and I did not. This one was really uncomfortable on me, so that was like an immediate no. It was the kind where the shoulder strap undoes and you have to get in through that and then like zip up on the side and do the shoulder strap. My arm was being so pinched like around this way, which is not really something that you can like alter to be better whenever it's mesh like that. So I did not love the way it looked, and I did not love the way it felt. So this one I was just like, I mean, we're not doing this one. Get me on out of it. But then we tried this guy on, and this one is exciting because it is actually the first one that I tried on that I could have actually pictured myself leaving with. I was getting discouraged there for a little bit because I was like, these are all pretty dresses, but they're not what I would personally like to wear at my wedding. This was the first one that I was like, oh, okay, like this one is definitely in the top 3. We're keeping it around. It's a fit and flare with a strapless sweetheart neckline. You can see it has like boning in the ribs. Faces in all of these pictures are so funny. I feel like people usually blur out their faces whenever they show these trying on pictures. The fit and flare was really pretty, and then it did have lace around. It was not, there was no shimmer, there was no beads, but it did have this like funky lace that is almost paisley. Like it felt kind of fiery over floral for the lace, which was interesting, and then buttons going all the way down the back. This is the train where you can see like the lace is pretty, but it also is just like funky. But I liked it. It was pretty. Its train was not so big. Like it definitely had a train, obviously, as you can see, but it wasn't just like so huge. So after trying this one on, I was like, let's keep it around. Let's keep it in top 3. I think there's probably going to be something that I enjoy more than this, but we'll at least keep it top 3 so I can try it back on. This was the next one I tried on, and honestly, looking back, like whenever I was going back through photos, this is one of the ones that when I was trying it on, I didn't like it as much as I do like now looking at it. The lace is so pretty to me, and this one too. The train was beautiful. It was fit and flare, which I was finding that I really started to enjoy. It's the sweetheart neckline again, and honestly the neckline was flattering in a way that I really thought it wasn't going to be. Like heading in, I didn't think that anything strapless or anything sweetheart or anything like that would flatter me, but I really liked it. I mean, you can see in this one too how pretty the train is, and it's kind of the mix of like classic, clean, but you have the lace. It definitely didn't have the structure that I liked. Like I really liked the boning in the waist, or even just like a cut off at the waist, just like something to kind of accentuate you a little bit more. It didn't have that, but like I said, when I was trying this one on, I was like, I'm not really feeling it. But looking back, I'm like, oh, that was prettier than I gave it credit for. I wouldn't have picked it like over the one that I got, but looking back, I like it better than I did when it was on my body. We gotta skip a few pictures in my camera roll because I ultimately did at this point then try on the one that I ended up buying. I never got to a top 3. It truly was the one that I showed you was a runner-up, and the one that I ended up buying were the only 2 I tried on that I was like, yeah, I could leave with this. Like, it was just between those 2. There was no third contender in there. But so I tried the one on that I ended up buying, but then I wanted to try back on the runner-up just to see between the 2, have it back on my body, see what it looked like. I mean, you can see I'm smiling in this picture. I really love this dress. I think ultimately I am glad that I picked the one that I did. And even while I was in there, the stylist was asking, she was like, if you left with like this one, would you still be thinking about the other one? And in my head, I was like, no, because like whichever dress I spend $900 on, like I'm going to be satisfied in it. And I don't think I'm going to really like let my mental energy be like, oh, I should have gotten that. I was like, I don't think that's gonna be beneficial. In my head, that's what I was thinking. But I can vouch for the fact that like after buying my dress, I haven't looked back at this one and been like, oh, should I have gotten this one instead? I'd say that the only, I guess we can talk about this later. The only like ones that I've been looking at that I've been like, oh, like maybe that would have been really cool to wear were the ball gowns, just because like when else in my life am I going to wear like a beautiful ball gown like that? I did not get a ball gown, if that's not obvious, but like when else in my life am I gonna wear the wedding dress that I did get? Like it's not, you know what I mean? Here's a video going around. We were trying to put the veil in my hair, but I didn't like have anything in my hair, so it was tough for it to stay in there. But just to visualize what it could look like, and like I said, I really was liking it. Like I really was loving this one, but ultimately I threw back on one more time the one that I did end up getting and decided on that one. So I do have a very pretty wedding dress that's going and sitting in my closet right now. That's just gonna be waiting for wedding day. Well, it's gonna be waiting for alterations and then wedding day, because it is going to have to be altered. Everything that we bought there, you buy off the rack. A few things that kind of went a little bit into my decision. I guess these are gonna be like detailed, but you can't really like picture the dress. The funky lace on the runner-up was cool, but it was like a little weird too. So the lace that I ended up getting is more floral, more like delicate. My runner-up did not have any kind of shimmer on it, which I really ended up liking. And so the one that I did get does have some shimmer on it. And then my runner-up, the waist of the dress sat like a few inches below where my natural waist was. So it would have looked a lot better to hike that up a little bit, which can be done in alterations, but just as more work, obviously. One thing that I did like in the runner-up that my dress that I got didn't have was the runner-up had the sweetheart neckline. That was just really pretty. And the dress that I got does not have that. Reflecting on the experience, it was just me and my sister. I just brought my sister with me and it was good. She was very helpful during it. Also got all of those pictures that you just saw, got the videos that you just saw. I will say with the setup of the way that I bought it, with like the hour-long appointment, off the rack, like your speed dating dresses, I think it would have been beneficial for me to try on dresses before going to that one, which they do say, like the shop says in their frequently asked questions, like make us be your last bridal shop. But they say that in a way of like, because our inventory is always changing, so if you love a dress, like we can't promise that it'll be here the next time you come, that kind of thing. And so I was thinking like, well, since I know that I want to buy from there, I don't feel like I need to go anywhere else. But I think that it would have been beneficial to go somewhere to try on dresses before then, so that I could have like already narrowed down what I liked on my body. And so that then whenever I headed into the hour-long appointment, I could have had a more like fine-tuned, like, okay, I want this silhouette, this neckline, these details. And then I really could have like focused in on the hour of speed dating with dresses with all of those components, because I think that a lot of my time was not wasted, because it was still beneficial and I needed to, but a lot of my time was spent trying on the ball gowns that I didn't get, or like the illusion neckline one. Like I didn't want that, but I wasted time trying it on to see if I would like it. And if I came in kind of already knowing more so like exactly what I'd like, I think I would have been able to like try on more dresses in the store that would be ones that I would have actually felt like I could walk away with. Because truly, like I said, out of the, like I think it was like 13 or so dresses that I tried on, not every single one of them we took a picture of, but most of them we did. Out of the 13 dresses that I tried on, truly only 2 I could have seen myself walking out of the store with. And I think had I gotten my runner-up, I do think I would have regretted it a little bit. So glad that I did not get my runner-up. I did get a really beautiful dress. Next up on the agenda was touring a venue for the night before party, like the welcome party. Pretty much everyone that's coming to our wedding is traveling, and so since they'll probably be getting there the day before, I think it'd be so good to just have a space where people can hang out. We can hang out with people, like Zach and I can, before getting caught up in the day of festivities, and also like give people dinner, because like if all of the people that we love are in town the night before, I would so much rather than be hanging out with us than just like sitting in their hotel room. But it is a little bit hard since we're not getting married like right where we live. So we headed up to tour 2 locations hosted by the same place that we were considering having the welcome party, and I'll enter the montage clips of those. We did end up booking the second one that we went to. It's just a great space and it comes with a lot and they're flexible and honestly they're pretty cheap too, so it's just like, yeah, no brainer. And I kind of was pretty positive that we would before we went and toured, but I feel like it was just good to go tour, especially to be able to narrow down like spots that we wanted versus not, so that was good to do. We are about to head to a caterer tasting, which is about a 45-minute drive outside of Atlanta, and I'm really excited for it because I feel like a lot of people talk about how much tastings are like just fun and it's a part that they really enjoyed in their wedding planning process. I do think that this is the caterer that we do want to use, and so like assuming not everything's just disgusting, which I can't imagine it would be once we get there, we do plan to book with them. He was like obviously want to do a tasting before actually putting deposit down, but they're like very highly rated and like very recommended by our venue. I will say I'm a little bit hesitant because they've been like not super responsive in the times that we've been talking to them, but also part of that like hopefully I think it's just been bad times and like they have been responsive about coming to the catering, and like we couldn't go to June's, so we went to July, so things just got like delayed, and so I'm really hopeful. Something that they mentioned, because I feel like I mention it here and there all the time, but Zach has celiac, so he can't eat gluten, and she was like most of our things like are entirely gluten-free, like not even cross-contamination, so he should be able to eat just fine at the tasting itself. You're good. I'm talking about how you can eat food at the tasting hopefully. And I was saying how I'm like a teeny bit apprehensive since they've been a little non-communicative sometimes, but also like we've caught them at bad times and they're rated truly so highly. Truly so highly. Me popping in one last time. Hello. The caterer that we went to taste is the caterer that we are going with. I will say the tasting itself was not, I was so bummed because as I said, like people say that the tasting for their wedding is like one of the most fun things and they loved it. I would not say it was quite like that for us, but also part of it is that because Zach has dietary restrictions to where he can't eat gluten, whenever we were on the phone prior to the tasting, she was saying how like for our wedding, like they can make everything be gluten-free if we want, or like make sure to have safe dishes for the people that need them. Like they're able to entirely customize dietary things for our wedding. And then she was saying like, and most of our entrees already come gluten-free. And based on our call, it kind of, we went in thinking that there would be more at the tasting that Zach would be able to try and have than there actually was, which it was a group tasting, so they weren't cooking just specifically for us. But out of the, let's see, I have the menu. Out of like all of these things, there were about 2 entrees and 2 sides that Zach was able to taste that were marked gluten-free at the tasting, which was kind of a bummer, especially because some of the things I would have sworn were gluten-free, but they weren't marked that way, so obviously he didn't want to try it and be wrong. But so just for that reason, he was pretty disappointed in the experience just because he didn't get to eat as much, even though like he'll be able to eat at our wedding just fine. It was just the tasting itself, not as good of an experience as he wanted. I ended up trying all of the appetizers, just about. It ended up being like half and half of ones that I liked versus didn't like. One thing that I don't like though, and I feel like just as a guest, I haven't really liked this either. I don't like when there are waiters and servers going around with hors d'oeuvres and like offering to people, because as a person, I always feel so like uncomfortable, like trying to flag them down, be like, hey, and then like whenever you get one, it's like, oh, now I have this like juicy shrimp that's just like on a napkin in my hand and I like don't really know what to do with it. Like I just don't like the process of like passing out hors d'oeuvres during a cocktail hour. So I much rather prefer them just like be on a buffet and people can come get them. But what we're thinking we're doing instead of even like any of these appetizers is just doing a charcuterie board for cocktail hour, because like you can't go all too wrong with that. And then people can come and they can get what they want and there's not the passing out of hors d'oeuvres. That's what we're kind of thinking. I tried the Caesar salad. It tasted like a Caesar salad. I kind of guessed that, but I was like, if we're gonna get it, then I might as well like consume it at least once. Tasted like a Caesar salad. Of the sides, the things that I really liked, they had a mac and cheese that was really good. Their green beans were really good. And I'm kind of thinking that's what we're leaning towards for our sides. And then their entrees, the package comes with 2 entrees, but I think we're probably gonna add like a third that maybe doesn't have quite as much to be vegetarian. So it can be like steak, chicken, vegetarian options. We will see though. But there were some herb marinated sirloin strips that were really good, and Zach could try them too, so he also thought they were really good. So there was that, and then I tried the chickens that they had there. They had a Mediterranean and a honey Dijon chicken, and both of them were like fine, like good. Like the chicken wasn't dry, the flavor was good, but they have more variety beyond that of the different types of chickens. So I don't know if we'll get specifically one of those, but I feel like even having not tasted it, having tasted 2 chickens and like seeing that they were good makes it a little easier to be like, okay, so this flavor will probably still be good of that. And then we haven't decided yet if we're gonna do a full wedding cake or do like a dessert bar for guests and just like a little cake to cut. Before, I was really leaning towards a dessert bar, which is like a little cake to cut to like have the cake cutting, and so Zach and I could have it. But now I'm kind of leaning back towards doing like an actual big cake, which if we do that, I kind of need to get on that so I can get on a little baker's schedule for our day. They gave us these notebooks too so that we could take notes. The only thing I wrote, mac and cheese tart, smiley face. I guess that just felt really important to me. So, little spoiler, not really. We did end up booking that caterer, like I put a deposit down and everything. You probably could tell that since I was like talking about what we were going to do. Our venue does have exclusive caterers, so there were 7 different options that we could have picked from. Even though we weren't just like so super blown away, like that is the same level of catering that we would be getting because we're not gonna go like super duper bougie, unfortunately. Wish we could, we're not. And so it was kind of like, we've tasted the food, it's good, it's fine enough. They work with our venue often. They're one of the 7 exclusive caterers that we have to pick from, so we just went ahead with them, and they reviewed really well. So they were the ones that like heading in that we were planning to book with, but obviously just like wanted to go to the tasting, and they wanted us to go to a tasting before putting a deposit down just in case. But overall, crazy weekend. Big ol' wedding planning block that went on. Wedding dress secured, welcome party venue secured, caterer secured. There are definitely still a lot of things upcoming, most notable of which, let's see, I have to accessorize my wedding dress. I don't really know what I want to do with that yet. Get shoes and all of that. I gotta get shoes before I get altered, so those are things are coming up. We're gonna get our wedding bands coming up pretty soon. We're gonna start dance lessons pretty soon. Zach needs to get his tux or like his plan for a rental, and then also invitation time is coming up. So those are kind of the things that are coming up next in the wedding planning. I don't know exactly when the video will be out. I don't think it'll be like 1 week like these 2 were, but it'll be out once I do those things. Thank you for following along. I find it so funny whenever I was watching an old video from April, even after we got engaged, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I'm a wedding person. I don't want to plan the whole thing. That just like doesn't draw me in. I don't think I'd find joy in it. And I feel like part of me also felt like I couldn't handle it. Turns out I can handle it. Really leaning into the wedding things. It is all I'm thinking about. I'm having so much fun. My TikTok feed is entirely wedding. My Pinterest boards are entirely wedding. I've transformed. I'm a new person. I always said that too. I was like, but leave me room to change my mind. Here I am, changed my mind. Thanks for being here to watch the journey. See you next time.